Hey gang, Jeff from War for the Tower wants you to know that one of his other shows, Shattered Worlds RPG, is fully caught up so you can totally chat with them as they make it. It's actual play, it's got robots and wizards. It's great. Come on down, look up Shattered Worlds RPG on your podcatcher of choice. That was an Unspoiled Network podcast. This is Unspoiled, covering Doctor Who, Season 7, Episode Who Knows? They say 6, The Bells of St. John. In this episode, hey, what do you know? Clara's back again. I didn't see that coming. And she's been taken over by a spoonhead. What a weird fucking episode this one was. Welcome to Unspoiled. Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm Natasha.
I'm Jamie.
Spoony, Spoon Man. Yeah, this was real weird, and is that the same guy as in the Snowman episode at the end?
Yeah.
Is that Discount Jeffrey Rush? Okay, got it.
Or Richard Grant, who I believe is possibly an Oscar nominee himself. A very good actor in his own right.
You know. I said what I said.
You posted something on Facebook not that long ago, and it kept popping up on my feed over and over, as things tend to do sometimes.
Get so annoyed by that, yes.
And I made a comment the other day where I was like, I'm really sick of seeing this discount so-and-so, and I can't remember now who I thought he looked like. But every time I saw him, I was like, oh, wait, no, it's not.
There are just some actors that do that to you. You know? I know that there are others, and I'm going to think on it, and I will report back. But I have a few actors that every time I see them, I think they are somebody else for a second. I know that What's-Her-Face and What's-Her-Face are definitely two of them. I'll get back to you on those names.
That's great.
Yeah,
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Keira Knightley, and what's the other one who looks fucking exactly like her?
Natalie Portman?
No.
Okay, because she played her decoy in Star Wars,
yes.
So people tend to think they look alike. I don't think they look alike.
No, they looked alike because of their makeup in that.
Sure.
Like, that made sense. They did a good job with, like, picking actresses that are close enough that you're like, yeah. But I'm trying to think. Now I'm going to say, just Google, who does Keira Knightley look like?
Oh, my God.
Who does Keira Knightley look like? Oh, thank you, Google. They autofilled that. Oh, it says Natalie Portman. No.
The post that you made was the one about Joe Rogan, and the guy in the picture looks like a discount version of Andy Samberg, and it makes me mad every time it comes up on your feed.
Oh, that guy who's from the Reductress. Yeah.
Is that where you shared that from?
That's their headline, yeah. And that dude is like one of their, probably one of their staffers that they use his photo.
Like a weirdly weird version of Andy Samberg. It makes me mad.
Daisy Ridley. That's who she looks like. Keira Knightley to me looks like Daisy Ridley.
I can kind of see it. I wouldn't mistake them for each other, but I can kind of see it.
Yeah, when Daisy Ridley has makeup on, especially, it's bonkers to me. But I'm sorry, discount Andy Samberg. Yes, he does look like him. I see that, of course.
Yeah,
but he's funny. I mean, not on purpose. This guy's a goof. Anyway, people don't know what I'm talking about with this Reductress headline. Sorry, everybody. Joe Rogan sucks.
Yes.
All right, so this episode. So this dude is still trying to eat human brains.
Well, it's not a dude per se.
No, it's like he's like the representative that we need as viewers to relate to him.
Yeah.
Because it's not really a human thing or personified.
It doesn't seem to have, like, corporeal form.
Yeah, that's the word I want. Listen, I've got PMS brain, guys. You know what I mean. I can't come up with words today. I can't come up with actress names. So everyone just roll with it. I'm sure I'll be back at some point. Next week, maybe. But that's all at the end of the episode. We start off this episode with a montage of people who are signing into Wi-Fi connections all over the city. And...
Okay, I'm just going to quibble about this right from the start.
Okay.
When I log into a computer, at my house or otherwise, if it's not connected to my own Wi-Fi, and I look at the list of Wi-Fis, if I saw one that was a bunch of weird shapes and symbols that I know is not my Wi-Fi, I'm not clicking on it. And this whole story predicates on people just, oh, what's that? Free Wi-Fi? I'll click there.
I believe that most people would do that. There's a reason why so many people have, like, really intense security on their Wi-Fi is because people are absolutely just going to go around and see whatever they can connect to get free internet.
Even if it's weird symbols that don't look like letters or anything you've ever seen before?
Sure. I bet people would probably think that, they're just a coder. They probably work in IT and they just did something weird.
Well, maybe I'm just very not trustful.
I think that's certainly true. We know that already. I mean, you and I have had full conversations about that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I just, like, I don't think that people are more worried about anything actually being able to hurt them through the internet than they are about getting free stuff on the internet. You know?
Well, yeah, I guess people are stupid, so, okay.
Yeah. People love free shit. And this was, like, recorded during an age where getting the internet was harder. Like, now, there's fucking free Wi-Fi everywhere. I mean, you stop at a 7-Eleven and they're like, guest Wi-Fi? You're like, really? This period, what was this? What year was this one made?
Like 2013, I think?
I feel like this was right around where more places really started to have Wi-Fi and people were beginning to realize, oh, I've got to, like, guard this a bit more because there's just randos slowing down my download speeds and stuff because they're on my shit. I had that happen in Philly. I didn't realize that our neighbors had been using our Wi-Fi. And, like, I don't think that they were up to anything nefarious. I think that they were just stealing Wi-Fi. And I was trying to download shit and I couldn't do it. And all of a sudden, we went in and, like, changed our settings or something. And all of a sudden, that shit was like lightning. And it was clear that these people had just been, like, on our shit. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think people are versed enough in technology in the best of times to be as suspicious as they should be of a lot of things that you see. I mean, think about the number of old aunts that send you clearly false, like, memes or links to articles by, like, weird sites, or who try and, like, share with you. If Eddie Murphy says if you share this to your wall, he'll pick one of you to win $500,000. You know what I mean? Like, that shit?
Yeah.
The people are not smart about that, man. Similarly, the only 7 people can read this, and if you're one of them, then you're a genius. No, everybody can read this, and they make sure that everybody can, so that they will feel like a genius, and then share it like an asshole with everybody else, even though this is extremely common and easy to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think as much as I understand your feelings on this, and I wouldn't click that shit, because I'm just not trying to get into random Wi-Fi because I don't know who's on there. I don't want to be implicated in something that might be happening on that Wi-Fi that I don't know about.
I also don't want to be hacked.
Yes, that also. But I don't think that most people are as cautious as they should be in general about stuff.
You're probably right about that.
I mean, look, we all have tracking devices on us at all times that are, compiling data, learning who we are. There's really only so much you can do to be careful anyway. At this point, uploading our consciousness into the internet doesn't really even seem like that's just another way of saying the thing that's already happening anyway. It's fine. Whatever. Everybody's like, I don't know where I am. And I'm like, well, it looks like you're sitting in the nice room where your desk was. From here anyway. Where your computer is. So maybe just keep on doing whatever you were doing. And you can just act as if you get to just do nothing but surf the web for the rest of eternity. And that won't be so bad. It's kind of how you were spending eternity anyway.
It's true.
Did
you ever you read World War Z, right? Mm-hmm. There's that whole part, this kid in Japan who was like a online gamer or something and didn't even know that the zombie apocalypse was happening because he was so into his game.
Yeah.
Until everybody around him was dead and he had to figure out how to get out of his high-rise apartment building without dying.
Yeah, that was a pretty good one because he was somebody, I think his parents were just giving, putting food at his door or something like that was happening and the food just stopped showing up. And he was like, well, what the fuck?
He's the one that ends up in the woods with the blind, kung fu guy, right?
Wow. This sounds so cheesy when you say it like that, but I think you're right. It's better than it sounds, everybody. I'm just saying. It's a good book.
It's such a good book.
Anyway, okay. So we have all of these people who are all of a sudden being I don't know where I am after this guy does this intro about how don't click it. Yeah. And then we cut to, what year is it supposed to be?
1207.
1207, that's it. And, this dude is tell the Pope, tell the King, tell the Abbot, tell everybody. The bells of St. John are ringing.
The Pope or the King.
Well, I don't think there's a Pope yet. Is there a Pope? How early did the Pope start?
I don't know.
Well, anyway, he says...
Wrong person to ask.
He comes down and tells the doctor, who is out here painting a portrait of... Carlisle? Clara, thank you. Sorry, I've been reading Midnight Sun. And I think it's supposed to be he's just passing time and she's on his mind. But there's something real creepy about that to me. I feel like it's just so, I think it's because of the setting with the candles and the whole monk vibe. It just really makes it feel more sinister and obsessive in a way that's he has a help me out here, in his closet, a shrine to her in his closet kind of vibe. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, he has been obsessing about her.
Yes.
The woman who twice died.
Does she die in this episode? She doesn't. She's all right at the end, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's fine. Okay. I'm just I keep expecting her to die. And I watched this episode twice, so I don't know how I didn't remember. But, so yeah, he gets told that the bells are ringing. He says, I'm going to need a horse. He begins to prepare, and then all of a sudden, the phone on his
TARDIS?
I was going to say Tesla.
You're really struggling today.
Guys, PMS affects me so much in the best of times, and this has been an unusually bad one, this go round. I don't know what's the matter with me. Jamie, I feel like you may have to take the reins on this, like, recap a little bit more than you normally do, because I'm just not with it, obviously. But, yeah, he hears this ringing, and he's like, that's not supposed to happen, and he answers, and it's her, and she's like, hey, the Wi-Fi is busted. Where's the Wi-Fi? I can't find it. And
she's so computer illiterate, which doesn't make any sense because she's not new to the world.
Right.
She's grown up with this developing over time.
Mm-hmm.
So to be like, hey, how can I get on the Wi-Fi if you're on the Wi-Fi?
Yeah. Can
girl.
I use it when you're done?
Yeah. It's like, it's not 1999 when we were still dial-up.
And she's not 74 years old.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
Yeah. It's really weird. Like, I don't know what it is, but it reminds me, there's this thing that I'm not certain, enough about what's his face to know if he does this sort of thing a lot. But what I keep immediately thinking of is 50 Shades of Grey, where Anastasia Steele is so completely inept with technology that when he tells her that he sent something to her email address, she marvels at the fact that she has an email address. Ugh. Like, he set it up for her because she didn't have one. And she thinks that this is a really big deal. I think she doesn't know how easy that you can own like 65 email addresses in under 10 minutes, and it's really nothing. And she is just so disconnected from reality in a way that I'm truly like, she's a journalist, supposedly, or at least going to journalism school. And you don't know how an email address gets set up. How did you apply to this college? How did you do anything that got you where you are without knowing this stuff?
Usually people who write characters like that are older, I'm just going to say it because it's usually men, older men who are stymied by the internet. I'm going to
get hate mail now, Jamie. I hope you're happy.
Well, you know what? I speak the truth. The biggest, most egregious example of this is Aaron Sorkin, especially in shows like The Newsroom, where he's got such contempt for the internet that the way that he writes about the internet by having his characters behave a certain way towards the internet clearly shows that he does not understand it.
I feel like I just had a conversation with Miles on because we're recording on Midnight Sun about specifically The Newsroom. And that's written by Aaron Sorkin, right?
Yes.
And some character on there who's like considered to be a huge idiot nerd because he's into social media. Is that who you're thinking of when you're talking about this, or is there another Aaron Sorkin example? No,
that's the same Aaron Sorkin, but I'm more talking about the characters who are like, oh, the internet,
who directly say it, not just our examples of, okay, I got you.
That are just like, oh, that's a passing fad, or I just don't get it, you kids with your Twitter. It's like, just try rolling with the world.
Right.
Because the world has evolved. So there's that example. What pisses me off about what you just said about 50 Shades of Grey, which is something I've never watched or read, is that woman knows how to use the internet. She was writing fan fiction. That's how she got a fucking book deal. Mm-hmm. So why are you writing your character to be a fucking moron?
Because she doesn't understand wants her to be helpless and introduced to a whole new world.
Oh, a whole new world that everybody exists in?
Yeah.
That's stupid.
It is stupid.
It makes me want to
agree.
It makes me happy I've never consumed that project and never will.
It's real bad. It's
also,
real
bad. Dakota Johnson is
a hero.
the most forgettable face I've ever seen on an actress that keeps getting work, that every time I see her, I'm like, who is that?
You will not speak ill of her.
Really?
To me.
I've honestly never seen her in anything. Every time I see a picture of her, I'm like, who is that? Because her face does not stay in my mind, ever. She
has, like, kind of gotten an attitude with a couple different interviewers, one of whom was Ellen, in a way that I just incredibly stan and I will respect forever. And
I don't know anything about her. I just think she's completely forgettable.
Well, she wasn't forgettable on Ellen.
If she has a good, like, take no shit personality, that actually makes me more interested in, like, paying attention to her instead of being like, oh, right, that forgettable face.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if she was on Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy Kimmel. God damn. And she is, like, in an interview, and he continually talks over her, and she finally just says, do you let people talk on this show? And I was just like, oh, I love you so much.
It had to have been Fallon.
I don't like Jimmy Kimmel so much either, though. So I wouldn't be surprised at either one of them. But anyway, that's my my plug for attitudey ladies here on this episode this time.
So I don't know if Stephen Moffat has a sort of like, ooh, the internet. I don't know how he wrote internet type things with Sherlock, because again, haven't watched it. But it just made my hackles go up. Like, you're really going to have this girl be this stupid about the world we all live in that has evolved to this point? It's not brand new.
My main reaction, and I think that's probably what they were going for, but it doesn't, like, it's one of those things, again, that I think this show does all the time, where I get what they were trying to do, but they did it in such an exaggerated way that it stops working. I think they were trying to point out really quickly, hey, remember how this girl was a computer genius? Now she doesn't even know that more than one person can use Wi-Fi. Something's different about her. I think that's what they were going for. And instead of it really, like, working, it just sort of feels lazy. Like, you could have shown her not being great with tech in a lot of ways, but you chose something so obvious as to make you wonder how this woman makes it through her day as a person. And it shouldn't be that extreme. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I forgot that the Clara Oswald that we met that was actually a Dalek was like a computer genius.
Yeah, that was like my first reaction was just like, oh, okay, so she's got a whole different thing going on here because she doesn't know about this. But otherwise, I felt pretty much exactly the same, which is just how can she move through the world and not know this?
Yeah.
But there is a joke that she makes when he says something about thousands of souls trapped on the internet crying out in pain, and she says that just sounds like Twitter, which could be taken as like a jab at the internet in general, but to me it's just like such a good joke that I'm fine with that, and I don't think that's what it was.
It's a good joke. It didn't feel that way to me. That it was a jab at Twitter, unlike a couple of episodes ago when the Doctor was like, ugh, Twitter. It just felt like an actual, like, solid joke.
Yeah.
Because at that time, especially, yeah, that's pretty much what Twitter was.
Twitter is. I got news for you, girl. I don't know how much time you've been spending on there.
That's true. I don't spend a ton of time on Twitter, but I have found that getting news information from Twitter happens more now than it did when I was fully active on Twitter.
Yeah, that's where I was going, when everything was happening with the protests and stuff, a lot more for my, like, up-to-date information, because it was just so much more complete by-the-minute posting. A
lot of the news that I consume now is when I go and look at Twitter, and I last about 5 minutes before I'm like, okay, I can't. I'm going to have, like, an absolute stroke.
Yeah, my opinion on Twitter is it's a great place for consuming. It's a great place for sharing a good joke you thought of. It is not a place to have any sort of conversation or make a statement about a thing that you would like a lot of interaction on. Because it is a cesspool. And once the wrong people get a hold of your question and your hashtag and whatever, just good luck. It's going to be ugly and frustrating. And then you just have to turn your notifications off. And then once you do that, the notifications of good, nice people don't come through, which is super frustrating. Just,
you got to use that block button on Twitter, too.
I use block. I use mute. I use them all, baby. I wish that there was a mute on Facebook that was longer than... there's unfollow, but doesn't really have the same effect. Because there are just some times where I'm like, I don't want to unfriend this person necessarily, but I don't want their opinion for a good month. I would like them to not be able to comment on my shit at all. And the only way to really accomplish that is to like filter them out of your posts. And it's just like, I don't want to do the work. They should do the work.
I have filtered out almost every member of my mom's side of the family. I'm still friends with them on Facebook, but I filter them out of my posts so they don't see them.
It's just, there are some people that it's like, you bring nothing to this conversation. What are you doing? Yeah. Why do you feel a need? You know how I feel. Stop.
Yeah.
Anyway. She calls him up thinking that he's IT, and he's all like... it's 12:07, and she's like, I've got 3:30. Are you in a different time zone? Which was another pretty good joke.
And also, like, if you really think about it, not possible. Because it's 12:07 and 3:30. So even a different time zone, you wouldn't be different minute?
Oh, that's true. I didn't really think about the minute part. But yeah, you're right. Well, maybe he's looking at his grandfather clock clunking away, not quite up to time with everybody else.
I'm sorry, can you hear my cat snoring?
Is that what that was? I heard an exhale.
Now listen.
I'm afraid I can't hear anything at this point.
Okay. I can hear him, but I don't have the mic very close to him. If I move the mic towards him, he'll wake up. He is snoring so loud. It's really funny. Sorry, guys.
So, okay. She asked for help with getting the Wi-Fi, and he's like, you have clicked the Wi-Fi button, have you? To which she's like, oh, hold on. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And eventually she asks the girl who she's watching, whose mother died, apparently, what the Wi-Fi password is here. And the girl tells her RYCBAR. And
123.
123. And she says, how am I supposed to remember that? And then she types it in, saying to herself, run, you clever boy, and remember. And the doctor is like, what the fuck did you just say? And she's like, why are you yelling at me so angrily? I'm trying to remember a Wi-Fi password. Calm down. And that's his clue.
There's a quick part in between this where we see the dad and the younger kid. And the younger kid's reading this book called Summer Falls.
Right.
By Amelia Williams.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Aww.
Yeah. And then there's the Stephen Moffat, oh, you're so clever joke where she says, what chapter are you on? And he says 10. And she goes, oh, 11 is the best. You'll cry your eyes out.
I didn't.
Yeah. Which was one of those Moffat things where I was like, shut up. I mean, you're right, but shut up.
That is so smug.
Yeah.
Oh my God, get over yourself, sir. I'm like, I like it in its way, but I also hate it, and I hate him.
Same.
Yep. All right.
I remember when I heard that line when I originally watched this episode, when it originally aired, and I was like, I fucking hate you. I hate you, Moffat, so much. I just was so mad about it.
Oh, that's funny, though.
And now I'm just like, oh, God, just shut up.
Yeah, that's right. And it makes more sense now because I thought that was a weird line at the time because I was like, don't just tell somebody you're going to burst into tears next chapter. Mm-hmm. Like, that's a spoiler. You know? Come on. Mm-hmm. I think most of us, if somebody says that about something we're reading, for most plot points in context, you can figure out what that's going to mean. Unless it's a real out of left field shock, you know.
And also there's like, if you end up not crying, then you're like, well, what's wrong with me? Or what's wrong with them?
Right.
Why did this make someone cry?
There's so many things that I will hear afterwards that people were like, oh, that made me cry. And more, like, several people will chime in and be like, me too. And I'm just like, okay. Sorry, guys. I had so little reaction to that now I'm starting to wonder about myself. So, once he realizes who she is, he turns up at her front door. Mm-hmm. And is hopeful that she is going to remember who he is. She does not remember who he is. He says...
I'm pretty sure she's not the same person.
Right? He's not getting it. And she asks, should I? Who are you? He says, the doctor. And she says, Doctor who? And he says, not that. Actually, say it again. And she says, Doctor who? And he says, wow, I don't think I realized how much I liked hearing that said out loud. And this was just an awful lot of meta-ness, guys. Now that I know about the other jokes as well, it just feels like maybe we could have calmed it down a tad.
It's a lot of patting oneself on their own back.
Yeah, you know, like there comes a point at which it's past being self-referential and it started to just be shoving something up its own ass. Mm-hmm. Just be cool. You don't have to. It's almost like we're almost into Scream level territory here. You know what I mean?
But the whole point of Scream is how referential it is.
Right. And, like, that's fine because it's, like, that's the way it's supposed to work.
That's the concept of it.
Right.
This is, like, all of a sudden, 3 years into running this show, he's like, look how clever I am. Mm-hmm. I'm so clever. Because he wrote this, too. This isn't like he's the showrunner and someone else wrote the episode. This is all Stephen Moffat. He takes the blame for all of this nonsense.
This man is tiring me out. I'll just say it. We'll see how this goes, but and it's
really
like it's
is kind of up
worse
his own
than
ass.
It was, right? Like, is it just because it's the start of like a new section of the season?
I don't know.
Because it's not even a new season.
I honestly didn't like. I found things that I appreciate so much more than I realized in rewatching his run of this show. Mm-hmm. But this episode, there are just way too many little things where I'm just like, oh my God, that's right. I hated you for a reason. You're just putting them all on display here.
Well. So yeah, he turns up. Basically, he scares her. He's just very aggressive. He's talking about shit that she doesn't understand, has no context for. Mm-hmm. He's acting like he knows who she is, which I don't know if you've ever had that, where somebody like seems to know you and you don't know them, but it makes you feel like you've been spied on, even if that's clearly not what happened. There's just a sense of just being like, but how do you know this though? And as a woman, I feel like a strange dude shows up at your door, and that's even worse in that regard. And then we cut to this dude, that's working in, well, I guess, yeah, it happens before we actually see the Spoonhead, because we hear the word Spoonhead before we actually see one. But yeah, we cut to this like weird office with a bunch of screens, and it's pretty clear because of these screens and the context that we saw them in before, that these people are working with or responsible for whatever it is that's taking people into the internet forever.
Yeah.
And they're talking about this girl. And the guy says, Clara Oswald, we've got a positive lock on her, but I think she's borderline. Very clever, but no computer skills. I wonder about the borderline thing. Are we meant to know what that means? It sounds like what he's saying is just basically, I don't know if she's up to par for the kind of people that we normally take.
Yeah.
Is that's correct?
That's kind of what I took from it.
Okay.
It's like she's she's clever, but she doesn't have a lot of computer skills. Maybe not the kind of soul that the great intelligence is going to want to consume.
Gotcha. Okay. And this woman says, upload her anyway, splice her a computer skills package. And he says, I'll activate a spoonhead. And she says, we call them servers, not spoonheads. He says, sorry, Miss Kislet. And as she walks away to her assistant, she says, I'm ever so fond of Alexei, but my conscience says we should probably kill him. And he says, I'll inform HR. And she says, actually, he's about to go on holiday. Kill him when he gets back. Let's not be unreasonable. And honestly, that feels so true of just like, I have not had this happen, thankfully. When I have been fired, it is at the beginning of my shift. But I have known a couple of people who were allowed to finish their shift and fired at the end of their day.
Mm-hmm.
And I just cannot with that, man. That is some bullshit. And that's not even a vacation. That's just them squeezing some extra work out of you, which is just extra gross.
Yeah.
This whole thing. And I'm going to jump ahead a little bit here, but later on the episode, when she's returned to herself, she's got a little kid's voice.
Yeah.
And at first I thought that it was meant to be that people got put back into the wrong bodies. But I think what it's supposed to be is that she got taken when she was a child. And
That's
when
what I
she
took
was
it
returned
as.
to herself, she's just aged in this body, but her mind was taken over by something. And so when she returned to her regular mind, it doesn't match her body anymore.
Yeah, and she says something like, I don't even remember who I was before you.
Right.
So and then when we see that she's a little kid, I realize, the great intelligence must have taken her very young and just sort of took over her body or I don't know how that works. That who she was in the internet, but because everybody was a little different. Her assistant guy had a way more
cultured accent.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Not a posh accent anymore. He had more of a worker, lower class accent.
Mm-hmm.
And talks about plumbing, he was a plumber or something.
He's here to fix the toilets, the gents.
Right. So what was controlling them then? What brain was controlling them?
Yeah, because it feels well, I guess because she says upload a computer skills packet. Maybe that's what she got uploaded with a CEO packet. Maybe. And
we
he got
on her
uploaded
tablet,
with a CEO assistant packet. You know.
We see on her tablet where she can adjust their conscience and their paranoia and obedience and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she winds up doing that to him while they're in the middle of a discussion.
Yeah.
And
he's like, did you just hack me? And she's like, why would you think that?
Because you just changed your mind? And he says, I hope I did. I did rather like that. I do. It was weird, though, because, he says something about how you're uploading too many people, we're going to get noticed.
Yeah.
And she responds with, if your conscience is bothering you. And I'm like, he didn't say, don't upload people, it's wrong. He said, we're going to get caught. Yeah. So clearly his conscience is not a factor. That's not the problem. So having to hack him, you basically hacked somebody who's got better judgment than you, to have just as bad judgment as you have. Which, congratulations, you played yourself, because now the doctor is getting involved because you have not been cautious enough. And this all wouldn't have happened if you had just let somebody else give you some advice for a second. Just saying. But anyway, that's later. So, they upload her with a spoon head that looks like the girl from the cover of Amelia's book.
Yep.
Who just happens to be wearing her hair in exactly the same way I am right now, which actually freaks me out a tiny bit, but there it is. And the girl, like, responds to her by repeating back a version of what she has just said. So she looks up and says, "There you are," before she sees her. And the girl says, "There you are. Are you a friend of Angie's?" And she responds, "I'm a friend of Angie's." "And what were you doing upstairs?" "I was upstairs." And it's clear after a moment that first she's like, the way this girl is acting isn't right. Something's going on. But then she recognizes her, realizes that this is the girl from the cover of the book. And there's no way for a human brain to make sense of that. Can you imagine? You're just hanging out, reading a Song of Ice and Fire, and you hear some footsteps in the house, and you look over, and Jon fucking Snow is standing there staring at you.
Does he look like Kit Harington?
I mean, if that's who you picture, or if that's who's on the cover, I guess.
I'm fine with it then.
I will say Kit Harington has a booty that I wouldn't mind showing up randomly in my house, but...
An actual perfect one.
Other than that, I think that he cheated on the girl he married.
No! Really?
I feel like that was a rumor because...
You know what, though?
So.
She is fucking right-wing, like, Brexit. He can do better.
Is she?
Her dad is, like, a big Brexiter, and she quit acting so she could, like, help him. Like, run a campaign or something. So if Kit Harington, like, didn't want to be a part of that bullshit and cheated on her, I'm not gonna
You're giving him
blame.
A lot of credit thinking that it was political cheating, which...
I'm just saying that maybe she's not
cheating.
Great.
That's usually how that goes. I'm just saying.
Yeah, well... If she's a miserable person to be around because she's racist,
yeah,
maybe it's okay.
Fair. So she begins yelling about how she doesn't know where she is, but she hasn't been fully uploaded yet. And the doctor can hear her distress outside, and he goes in and sees the spoonhead sitting there with her face, like, reflecting out from it, like it's just barely... You know, she's, like, still there and they haven't finished transmitting. And he manages to pull her back into her body. And this gets the attention of everybody at this headquarters. And they decide that they are going to face down with him. Because the fact that he is the doctor is something that this lady has been told to look for specifically. And so now, apparently, it's just a matter of... It's a combo of, he's here, you told me to warn you about the doctor. And also, we gave her a ton of computer skills experience. And she can't just, like, take that. She doesn't get to keep it. We need that. Which, honestly, they should just have, like, backup files of that. You know?
She did get to keep the computer skills, though, didn't she?
Well, that's what I mean. But they don't want her to. So that's part of, I think, why they're so determined to just, like, get her back again.
Yeah.
That and to just show up the doctor. Because, you know, obviously her master, I guess, in particular wants to give the doctor the finger. Because who wouldn't? If they've been thwarted by the doctor once, you want to give the doctor the finger. Am I wrong?
The Great Intelligence has been thwarted by the Doctor several times, though.
Yeah, see?
So, yeah.
I feel like that would have to be just, like, it becomes a fucking personal situation. Where you just, fuck this guy. I keep on getting so close, and he keeps ruining it for me. I hate this dude. A grudge. That's the word. God help me. All right, so the doctor then, as he is caring for Clara, who has gone unconscious and appears to remain so, like, pretty much overnight, he gets a bouquet of flowers, puts them in a vase. He gets a pile of jammy Dodgers, takes a bite out of one, and puts that one with the bite out of it on the plate.
I know, that's weird.
Which really, dude, I appreciate the effort on everything else, and because I appreciate that effort, I can't let that go without commenting on what a bewildering choice that is in particular. Like, everything was so nice. You did a pretty good job. And then you just took a bite out of one and put it back on the plate. Like, I feel like there's a thing in, and guys, forgive me because I don't really watch anime, and so I may be talking out of my ass here, but I feel like it's a thing that if you like somebody, there's a shorthand of them giving you a drink that they didn't wipe the rim off. And then you drink from it, and it's like you're kissing them. And so I'm wondering if the doctor's doing an anime thing here, where he is like, I'm going to eat this biscuit partially, and then if I leave it for her and she eats the biscuit, it means that she wants to kiss me. No?
Sorry, I was making a face.
This is audio only, Jamie. I can't even see you.
I don't know, because up to this point, other than River, we've never seen the doctor, like, willingly want to kiss a lot of people.
True.
I kind of took it as, like, this is just one of those weird alien things he does. Like, I love these cookies. I talk about Jammy Dodgers on multiple episodes. I'm going to take a bite of one. Like, he makes such a production of smelling them.
Just eat the cookie, man. Just
eat
take
the
some
whole
of the
cookie.
Cookies. Go outside on your guard duty and have a snack. It's fine.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense why he took a bite from one and then... I was trying to think, like, is this something that kids do for, like, when they leave cookies out for Santa? And then as I was thinking about it, I was like, no, what happens is parents eat most of the cookies and leave, like, a partially eaten one so the kids think that Santa's been there.
Oh, I've never had that.
Oh, really?
No, they just eat all of them.
I've seen it both ways in media. So that's what I was trying to think of, like, is there some sort of correlation? But it doesn't make sense.
Man, if I were a kid and there was a partially eaten cookie, I would never be like, oh yeah, Santa was here. I'd be like, Santa didn't like my cookies. He didn't even finish it. Do you see this? He took a bite and then he put it down. What's wrong with my cookies? I would be very, like, hurt by that, personally.
Did you actually leave cookies out for Santa?
Oh, yeah. Do you know?
I don't remember if I did.
In Britain, it's traditional to leave out mince pies and spiced wine.
Really?
Santa in Britain must get schnockered by the end of the night. That is such a better snack than just milk and cookies. I love it. They're just like, leave them some booze and fucking meat wrapped in pastry.
Well,
yes.
Is mince pie always meat?
Oh, I guess it's not. I always think of mince meat, but it's not.
But
I think
on
fruit.
Bake Off they made mince pies, but there was fruit.
Yeah, it is fruit. It's heavily spiced dried fruit. I always forget that. Well, that's not as fun. I want a meat pie. Screw this.
Not me. I'll take the minced fruit.
Yeah, Jamie's a vegetarian, guys. So,
yep.
Next Christmas, when you guys are hanging out with me and Jamie, give me the meat.
Mm-hmm.
And give Jamie the fruit, dried fruit.
Yeah. I am curious how that pie is, depending on what the dried fruit is in it.
I always wonder about that, because there's like also, it just sounds like it would be so sweet.
Yeah.
You know? And like the other thing that Britain has is treacle tart, which is so insanely sweet to me. It's basically just like caramel pie. You know? Yeah. I just can't. And that's supposed to be Harry Potter's favorite Pop-Tart.
Or sticky toffee pudding.
Ugh. I just can't, don't get me wrong, I love me some toffee. But when you put that like gooiness into like a pastry and add flour and the whole thing, just toffee, it's just candy. It's like, it feels lighter.
Well, I don't think that sticky
toffee
pudding has like crunchy toffee like we're thinking.
No, it doesn't. It has like the syrup.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference. Is like the crunchy toffee is like that because it's crunchy. It's like candy, and so it doesn't feel as sickly because candy is pure sugar. But when you have a pastry that's just like covered in sickly sweet syrup, that feels different and like grosser to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It just seems like too much, too sweet.
Yeah. But I'm sure that there are like American... I mean, you were just talking about making like tres leches cake, which I love. So obviously I have no consistency to my opinion. So ignore me. All right. So what happens after that? Oh yeah. So she wakes up and is like, what's going on?
Oh,
she makes
there's
some tea
one
and
bit
comes
about
outside.
him looking through her book.
Right, and he licks this leaf. What is with him and his oral fixation today?
I don't know, but I have to give Matt Smith some props for his reaction when he licks the leaf. His face is so funny.
It is pretty good, actually. I noticed it myself when he does it. I'm going to the scene right now where he looks at the leaf so long and slow, sniffs the whole thing, sticks his tongue out very briefly, and then shakes his head a little bit like a dog. And then just puts it back. He's so good at comedy. He needs to stop putting his mouth on things and then returning them to their place. That is not an appropriate thing to do.
I just want to see Matt Smith do something like that. He's funny on this show, but I'd like to see him actually in a comedy. Mm-hmm. Because since this, I've only seen him in dramas. And he's very good. He's a really good actor, but he's very funny. He's got great comic timing, and he's so physical. I would just like to see him in something that they would normally give to, like, Jim Carrey.
Oh, my God.
Because I think he could do it.
The last thing I saw Jim Carrey in was the Sonic the Hedgehog movie as Dr. Robotnik.
Why did you see that movie?
Why wouldn't I see that movie? Are you serious? Are you kidding me? It's got James Marsden talking to a little CGI blue guy.
I honestly wonder what's going on with James Marsden's career.
What
is up with his agents?
Is one of those generic dudes that seems very nice and very cool, actually. Like, I bet I would like him. But I'll be damned if I don't forget about him.
So he's your Dakota Johnson.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
See, I think he's really underrated and deserves better. Like, he's been in some good stuff recently. He was in Westworld. He was really good in that. He's in Dead to Me, which is a really great show on Netflix. But then he'll be in like a fucking pizza commercial or something, or Taco Bell. I'm like, what the fuck is going on with James Marsden's career?
Yeah, I know that you're trying to say that being on Sonic the Hedgehog and a Taco Bell commercial are just like downsides for his career.
It's weird.
But it feels very internally consistent to me. I just think maybe he has a different value system than you do about...
Maybe he does. Maybe I think that he deserves better than Taco Bell commercials.
And he is just like, oh, sweet, I get to do a Taco Bell commercial? Do I get free taco? Oh, I'm totally doing that. I bet he's like,
maybe.
They were like, do you want to be in the live-action Sonic the Hedgehog movie? I fucking love Sonic! Yes! I have this Taco Bell shoe. I will bring some to the Sonic audition. No, we don't. We don't need to audition you. Nobody else wanted the job. You have it. It's fine.
I didn't know that he was in that or Jim Carrey was in it.
Yeah, he is a cop who befriends and then defends Sonic. And then Jim Carrey is Dr. Robotnik. I think that's his name. And he is a lunatic with like a Poirot type mustache and a crew cut who hates, honestly, him and I have a lot in common because he hates the human body because it's disgusting and wet and untidy. And so he loves machines and robot parts, and like his hope is to one day not be a person anymore and to just be like a clean, nice robot. And frankly, that's just a really relatable position for me these days. So, Dr. Robotnik, misunderstood? Find out more at 11.
Oh, boy. I was thinking back to your text on your birthday where you said something, I was like, wet tubes!
I love the fact that me saying certain things has prompted wet tubes with Krista, who I don't think even listens to this show.
She doesn't.
But yet, it's like, that's enough of a thing now that you don't have to listen to this show to know it. And also that I think Tony Collian posted about the reggaeton air horn.
Yes.
And I wasn't even around. And Krista was like, so wait, is this Natasha? And I was like, oh man, this really makes me proud. That is part of my brand, is like how much I hate wet tubes and how much I love reggaeton air horns.
Did you see Owen's response, which was that you stole that from him?
I did not steal that from him. I don't know where he's getting that. I think that's... he doesn't even like reggaeton. Okay? So, and I think the only reason he considers it a bit is because he downloaded that sound effect to his phone. And when we were hanging out with his friends, sometimes somebody would say something and then he would just like play that sound effect very unexpectedly. And it would become a bit of a joke that something would be like followed by the air horn sound to really make it sound like, oh, this is a real party that we're having, you know? Mm-hmm. But that wasn't like, whatever, it's fine. I'm not mad about it. I am a little mad about it. Anyway.
That goes back to like early Harry Potter days.
Does it?
With you. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
That makes sense. I think I downloaded the sound effect. I feel like I use that air horn during a recording for Game of Thrones with Miles and Rashawn, and we were like falling out laughing. I can't remember if it was that, because we were doing a temporary like testing of some like, it was when I wasn't getting people to email me their sound files, and we were testing out another method instead of Skype to record on. And there was this like third-party service that you could upload sound effects to it, to prepare for the show, and then play them while you were recording, and your co-host could hear it as well as you, and it would show up in the recording. And I think there was an air horn, and there was definitely like a trap version of the Jeopardy song.
Oh, I remember that too. I think that was on Song of Ice and Fire, but I think you brought up the air horn thing with Rashawn on Harry Potter, and you had it on your phone.
That sounds right. I should download that again. That's what I should be for Halloween one year, is like an undead like reggaeton DJ. And yeah, I like that theme. I'm gonna remember that. Not this year, because nobody's doing anything for Halloween, but unless you're a patron and you are above $20, because we're gonna have a virtual Halloween party. Just FYI.
Oh, we are?
Yes, on Halloween, because most people aren't going out or doing anything. And Halloween falls on a Saturday this year. So,
this would be the third time I've gotten dressed up for Halloween for an Unspoiled thing.
Hey!
Because there was when we did It, that was on Halloween, and I was dressed as a leopard.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that the It one was on Halloween. That was a good time.
Yeah. And then there was another one, I think, that I got dressed up. But you're in luck, because all of my Halloween stuff has currently been brought out so I could decorate yesterday. So all my costume stuff is down, too.
Yay!
So I'll look through. I've got some pretty good wigs. I have an Effie wig that I've never worn.
Nice. Yeah, I think I'm just going to do what I did last year because I don't want to buy anything.
What'd you do last year?
I'm not telling because in case people don't remember, I want it to be a bit of a surprise. But I think it was pretty cool, and I still have the costume, and it was comfortable. Which, if I'm going to be sitting in front of my computer for 2 hours, I will need that. Anyway, guys, if you are interested in a virtual Halloween party with unspoiled people, come to patreon.com/unspoiled and become a patron at $20 or above, and then you'll get access to it. It'll be great. You can come and hang out with me and Rashawn. We will be talking. First one this month is going to be about ghosts, that Unsober episode. And then the Unsober for Halloween is probably just going to be mostly talking about whatever we feel like it's at a party and getting drunk. And maybe we'll have our other co-hosts jump on for a minute and say hi or something. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so the doctor has messages. Your dad phoned mainly about the government. He seems very cross with them. I've got several pages on that. I said I'd look into it. I fixed that rattling noise in the washing machine, indexed the kitchen cupboards, optimized the photosynthesis in the maid flower bed, and assembled the quadricycle. And he says, I found a disassembled quadricycle in the garage. And she says, I don't think you did. And he says, I invented the quadricycle. And also the girl called and was like, hey, I'm spending the night at Stephanie's. You don't need to worry. That's the one. You don't need to worry like you do, for God's sake. It was a pretty funny delivery on that one. I like that. So yeah, that is the series of messages that she gets, and she asks him if he's going to just be there all night and guard her all night. And he says yes. She makes him a cup of tea, and they go outside, and as they are chit-chatting, the people back at the office here are figuring out how to attempt to re-upload her again, because they can't have her getting away after what she saw and experienced. That's no good. It is weird. I wish that after that opening, that intro with this happening to so many people, that we had a bit more of an idea of the wider world's knowledge of what's going on. Because it seems like this should be getting noticed a lot more. We don't have any idea exactly what the disposal service for these bodies are, do we?
Doesn't it say at the beginning that they're... Doesn't he say that he's... If you do, you may get chosen, and people who get chosen die within 24 hours, at least temporarily. Oh, their souls live on trapped. Okay, yeah, I don't know what the deal is with all their bodies. People just dropping dead all over the place.
Yeah, I feel like that really would be noticeable, mostly.
Yeah.
And so, I would like to hear if there were any theories, or if it was being, treated as heart failure. If there's a story that people are telling themselves to make this sort of thing make sense. I'm just curious about that, but it doesn't really matter. So she makes a joke about Twitter, and he's like, you got something and got to bring it back with you, and I don't think you're going to be allowed to keep that. And as he says this, he looks up, and there's some dude just standing very still on the corner. He tells her to get inside the box because he senses danger, and she's joking around, not reading the room, not sensing the tone and the absolute panic with which he is speaking, flirting, telling him it's a snogging booth. Is that what you do? You bring a booth? There is such a thing as too keen. And then all of a sudden you see all the lights around the neighborhood turning on. And she says, why are all the lights turning on? And he says, the lights aren't turning on, the people are turning on, and they're turning the lights on. And finally, she seems to understand some of the danger and runs inside with him and gets very impressed with it being bigger on the inside. Mm-hmm. And then, when they get off, they are walking down the aisle of a plane.
Well, there was a plane heading straight towards them, crashing. All of the lights in London started turning off, except in her neighborhood. and then there's this airplane that suddenly was getting lower and lower in the sky, and the doctor says something about airplanes have Wi-Fi, don't they?
Oh. Right. Why is everybody, passed out in the airplane, though? They're not being turned into spoonheads. Why are they unconscious?
I don't know.
I kept
the Wi-Fi is controlling them.
But that's...
They don't really give an explanation of how that's working.
Okay. Well, the doctor basically gets things, managed enough that the plane is not going to crash, and just as it straightens out, these people wake up, which was very confusing. I don't know why they seem to react to the plane.
He turns the Wi-Fi back on. He straightens the plane out, then uses his sonic screwdriver and turns the Wi-Fi back on, and then all the people start waking up.
So were they getting downloaded? And that's why they were, unconscious?
No. They show something in the office where the assistant guy says we can't keep passing it off as a riot, implying that any riots in the past were cover stories due to them controlling people with the Wi-Fi. So it's kind of like how later when we see that they're able to jump into people and talk through them.
Right.
So they use the Wi-Fi somehow to control people too.
But what benefit was it to turn these people off and make a plane crash?
I don't know.
I mean, it's one thing on the ground but they don't know that the TARDIS has taken them to this plane. This isn't...
No, they were making the plane crash, and he brought the TARDIS onto the plane.
Right.
Yeah. It was headed right for them, so I guess they're just trying to kill her if they can't download her.
So they're going to just try and kill her by hitting her with a plane that's falling out of the sky.
I guess.
They aren't even trying to get back their uploaded information from her. They're just trying to kill her now. I don't know why I didn't realize that they were just going to try and kill her. Because it seems later they upload her, and that's their, ultimate goal. So why would you go straight to, just make a plane fall out of the sky onto her house? Donnie Darko, bitch.
For excitement? Adventure? I don't know. Not their excitement or adventure, but the viewer's excitement?
Maybe?
I mean, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that doesn't really work. Guys, chime in if you, I have to say, there are times where we say things like this, and I say, people chime in and let me know, and I'm really hoping that somebody will have an explanation. And most of the time, there's not an explanation. Yeah. And I find that to be a bit of a bummer. But...
sometimes there is. Sometimes I get explanations, messaged on the Whovian group, and I try to tell you about some of it, but a lot of it's just information about stuff that happened on, old Doctor Who. Mm-hmm. Not so much well, here's how I think this plot hole fills in.
Right. Yeah, because the old stuff, I think that's interesting and everything, but it's not usually something that I'm I really need this explained, Mm-hmm. It's just something that's oh, it's interesting to know. Okay, cool, thanks. But it's usually when we're both just yeah, what? That doesn't work, does it? That I start to be come on.
Well, and it seemed like the complaint that we got was that I guess we say that it's the fault of white men often, or the arrogance of white men, or the privilege that the Doctor has because of looking the way he does, which I don't think is unfair of us to point out, especially considering the show is largely written by white men. Mm.
For those who don't know what Jamie's talking about, we got a comment from an angry listener who said that he thought that me and Jamie continually talking shit about white men's privilege was gross.
And sexist.
And that we were too heavy with the misandric comments. which will never not be funny to me. Anytime somebody uses the word misandric and they're being serious, I just don't know what to do with them. Bless their hearts.
I also don't think that it's not like we're looking for these problems. We are discovering these problems through discussion. Mm-hmm. And yes, it is from our perspective and our worldview and our experience that we can see things this way. And if you don't agree or you think we're wrong, often that might mean that your personal experience maybe is a little more similar to the doctor and his privilege. So it hurts your feelings. But it's not like we're like, yeah, we're going to tear this apart because that's what's fun.
Right.
We're also not pointing out plot holes because we enjoy that. It's just that sometimes there's something like this. Why is there this whole sequence on a crashing airplane? What does it accomplish other than, here's an exciting thing the doctor took Clara on?
Right. Yeah, I am interested. Like, if anybody has a suggestion on that, I do want to know, because I just feel like this is a big beat and I don't feel like I got what the point was of it. It's just like, if they're just trying to murder her with a plane, first of all, there has to be easier ways that they could have accomplished this. And secondly, they're like, she's living in a flat in a building. Like, they're going to allow the deaths of so many people.
And I don't know if that was the point or not.
Right.
Honestly. Like, that's just my, like, I don't know. I guess, like, it's, why are they turning off all the lights in London, but all the lights on in her neighborhood? I don't know.
Yeah. Why? Yeah, is the plane, because I guess I interpreted it as the doctor shows up on the plane in order to save these people because he realizes that there is a plane that is in danger. But
I think that is why he did that, but why did they turn the Wi-Fi off on the plane?
And why would he know that there was a plane in danger? So many places have Wi-Fi.
He could see it coming towards them.
Oh, he did? Okay, I missed that part.
Yeah.
Okay, got you.
Yeah, because we can see it too.
Gotcha. Okay. So, they get off the plane. They are in this, like, very, they're a block away from Big Ben. It's a spot where a lot of people take photos. And they roll up out of the TARDIS on a motorbike. And it's very, like, it's a weird moment with a lot of people standing around clapping as if they are street performers doing, like, a trick. Which I guess is probably, like, the closest, like, explanation to why people would be doing this and how that fit inside that small space.
Well, and the TARDIS just appeared out of nowhere, so they think it, and then he comes out as if he's doing, street performance. Like, this is all part of it.
It's just pretty funny. I like it. So there are some people that are taking a photo in front of the TARDIS, and he and she are picked up by these nefarious people by a scan of these photos that are, like, being uploaded. And so they are pursued. Meanwhile, she and the doctor go to an outdoor cafe, and he goes inside to get another cup of coffee and some more food, and there is an old man barista who suddenly gets taken over by this being, this woman, really. She's like the one sort of pulling his strings specifically here. Mm-hmm. And she tells him that you're not going to be able to save your little friend, and grabs this, like, poor bystander woman who has nothing to do with this and makes her part of the thing as well. And I was just like, just leave that poor woman alone. She has nothing to do with this. But she's involved now. And they...
And then a kid, too.
Oh, I forgot that the kid, because the woman she takes, like, a couple times. She lets her go and then takes her again. A minute later. I forgot about the kid. And she says something super gross. Oh, she's a pretty one, isn't she? Do you like her? I can make her like you too. Ew.
I didn't catch that line.
Ew. Ew. Ew, 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 ew. I hate it. Just FYI, I hate it. Just like, okay, look. It's a little inconsistent for me that we're sending spoon people to download your consciousness, leave your body a hollowed shell broken on the ground, put your consciousness in some sort of database, give you computer skills while you're uploaded into the cloud for why? Are all the people that are uploaded then turned into office workers? Like, because we see a bank of screens behind the office workers, which seems to suggest they're different things. Is it that occasionally you're chosen to be a worker and occasionally you're chosen to just be like like food?
Yeah.
Is that like the two different things? So she was chosen to be a worker.
Yeah.
Okay.
She was chosen to orchestrate all of this, keep this sort of factory running.
Okay.
She says something to the doctor about how her client feeds off of the neural energy of humanity, and what she's doing isn't any different than a farmer slaughtering their cattle.
Mm-hmm.
And she makes some comment about how no one loves the cattle industry more than Burger King.
Yeah. So, my problem is, how does being able to upload consciousness and pull people out of their bodies, how is that at all similar to being able to hack random human beings who are standing around? Because uploading...
How is it similar?
Like, uploading them from their body, they need a special piece of equipment, a spoon head, to accomplish that. And they clearly try to attack people with these things in private areas because it takes time to accomplish it. And yet, she's able to just jump in and out of the consciousness of completely unaffected people otherwise.
I guess the ones that they take are the food.
Okay.
But they also have the ability to control people's consciousness through the Wi-Fi. How I don't know. It's not like we all have chips. Do we all have chips?
Don't get the vaccine.
It's not like we all have chips that can be accessed because our chips are connected to Wi-Fi all the time. So I don't know how that really works, because the implication is that she's using the Wi-Fi to get access to these people nearby.
Right.
But the downloading them into the internet is so that the great intelligence can consume them.
Right. Huh. Okay. Yeah, I guess it doesn't feel like it's close enough a thing.
Well, they don't feel connected.
Yeah. And so the fact that I'm meant to just like accept that this other thing is something that they can do feels kind of weird to me, you know?
Yeah, it's like there were two different story ideas happening that they combined.
Yeah, and they just decided, well, you know, those are close enough, we'll just do that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not really close enough, that those are not the same thing.
Because people being downloaded into the internet to be food for the great intelligence, I get that. I understand the mechanics of what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And why. I don't understand this other aspect. And I don't feel like it was explained, like, how are you doing this and what is the purpose of it?
Yeah, I mean...
Other than to taunt the doctor.
Yeah, exactly. It just feels like she has what appears to be total control over every person
Yeah,
I don't know
because
if
she
there's, like,
freezes them all.
Yeah, exactly. And that is a very different situation than just stealing consciousness out of people's bodies. Like, I feel like if that were the case, there's no way the doctor just... Eventually, they think they see... We find out that it's a spoonhead, but they think they see the doctor heading towards them. And nothing is done about it. But she's got everybody in the world apparently at her beck and call.
Right.
And it's sort of played off as like, let him come, it'll be funny. Which, like, why? What do you think he can't? Like, what? The whole way that this like winds up shaking out is really suspect, because what we want is to get her in a position where she's potentially going to be downloaded herself and suddenly realizes like, no, I don't want this for me. And I get that that's all like satisfying and everything, but when you've established that it takes a long time for this to be accomplished, and that it's really accomplished by ambushing a person with a spoonhead who does not know what a spoonhead is and doesn't know what's happening to them, she then just crouches on the floor yelling, "No, not me," when she could just run out of the room. And I don't get the impression that these spoonheads are calibrated to pursue a victim. Right. They don't seem like once their head starts to slowly spin around, that's a wrap on that spoonhead. He's occupied. And so there's like a couple of different beats on this where we needed something to happen a certain way. We needed to feel threatened by her out in the world, by having her be able to control these people. But if she could, none of the other stuff would have been allowed to happen. She could have used these people to stop him and at any point, and would have, I feel. The idea of her just sitting and waiting for him to show with like this amusement, when she was told by this great intelligence, let me know if the doctor shows up because he's a real problem. Mm-hmm. Why would she just sit back and let that happen?
Well, she thinks she's safe because the building, Clara figures out where they are, right, like where they're located before she's taken. And then the doctor is going to the shard. And she thinks, well, the building's on lockdown. He's not going to be able to get to us. So this will be funny. Except that he's riding a motorcycle that is an anti-gravity motorcycle.
Right.
So then he's actually driving the motorbike up the side of the building, and suddenly she's like, oh, no.
Yeah, you'd really think, like, if she were a little girl who was somehow, like, aged and programmed to be the CEO, that the great intelligence would have gifted her with some basic information about the things the doctor is capable of.
Right.
Getting an anti-grav motorcycle is the least of his abilities. This is small potatoes for him.
Yep.
There's just the way that this winds up in the end is just really strange. And I feel like if we're going to continue to believe that this was a threat, that these people can be controlled, everybody being released from the internet cloud back into their bodies does not fix the problem. Because evidently there's technology out there that can just hack human bodies. So these people are still very much at risk in a different way. And could pretty much be mobilized as a fucking, like, involuntary army at any moment.
I don't think the show really thought about that aspect too much.
Then don't do it. Because
Right.
it's just, this is a Westworld moment here. It's very, like, even the way that the screens look when she's, like, hacked that dude, and she's raising certain levels on one thing and lowering on another, it looks so much like the Westworld tablets that they use.
Yep.
But yeah, that's a major threat that you've introduced just for a momentary, like, ooh, isn't it spooky how she can take these people over? That's all that they wanted to accomplish, but that technology has such insane consequences if you think about it for even more than a minute. Those don't match up. the payoff for just this moment of feeling threatened versus the overall implications of being able to do something that insane, they don't go together.
Right.
You know?
I feel like, just like the plane thing, it's just a little, here's a cool thing we could do without really figuring out the whys and the, further implications of it. Because that's why I feel like I wonder if these were two ideas that got merged together.
Yeah, maybe.
And honestly, we haven't had to have this kind of conversation in a long time, because this isn't the type of thing that Stephen Moffat has done with this show.
I mean,
he hasn't. This was a common occurrence with the first 4 seasons, where there would be something where we're like, but this just doesn't make any sense.
We did spend time last episode trying to figure out why crying in a house turns things to rain.
That's
which
true.
Then stops. So that's not entirely true.
Not this long.
What's that?
We didn't spend this much time.
No, I guess not. It's just
like, it was one of those things where we're like, yeah, it doesn't really make sense, but I mean, there weren't any long-term implications of like, okay, there's some big questions here that don't add up.
Yeah. And, it could be that this winds up being an ongoing issue and the introduction of this here, but it does not feel that way from the way the episode ends. It really seems like these people got released, and so this portion of this story is over.
Right.
So
did you? I don't remember exactly, but did you feel this way when we completed those first 2 episodes with the silence, where they went back to the 60s? Did you feel like that story was concluded, or that we would see them again?
I feel like I thought I'd see them again.
Okay.
I think so, yeah. Because of the way that the silence was being talked about, it felt like they were doing a similar thing as the Pandorica, and mentioning it, here and there, and just laying groundwork for it. And so they felt, when they said that we are the silence, I was like, okay, so this is going to be a thing.
Well, the great intelligence is not defeated at the end of this necessarily. Right. So it is possible that villain is something that we're going to continue to see at some point later.
And that's the difference, I think, is that with the silence and with the aliens, there was nothing in particular about them that I felt we opened this giant door and just left huge plot threads swinging around. It was just, I think that's not done. This, it feels like, I don't think that great intelligence is done. But if it's not...
This aspect of it might be.
Yeah, and if it's not, it would really have to take advantage of the groundwork that got laid here. And I don't think it's gonna. I don't get the sense that anybody is thinking of it in that way. I don't think the Doctor would count all of these people being released as a simple victory when he knows that they can just be taken over at any moment anyway. Once they return to their bodies, they're not exactly out of the woods, evidently. They're still at risk at any moment. Yep. Unless it's supposed to be that because she was the one person who seemed to be able to do that, and she has been returned to her childlike state, that the ability to do that is much less likely. But the technology is still sitting there for somebody to pick up. So I don't know. And
apparently all of these people were controlled in some way or another. Their consciousnesses were all in this data cloud, and now that it's back in their bodies, are we just supposed to believe that now the cloud's empty, so this technology that's been built is useless? The police are just going to confiscate it and it's done?
Right. Maybe it's going to get
unit.
Sent to
It's not
unit.
Even the police.
Yeah.
The unit came in and they're just going to pack it all up.
I don't trust unit with this shit. Just
Hey,
saying.
Martha Jones works for Unit.
That's true. Does she still? She's still around?
I can't remember. Last time we saw her, she and Mickey were chasing a Santaran, so...
Oh my god. I forgot about her and Mickey. What a weird thing. Alright. So, yeah, we pretty much talked about, like, the plot of this. She gets damseled again and taken over, and he goes and gets everybody released back and saved. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden everybody is like, where am I? I was sent to fix the toilets. And I'm like, man, I wonder how much time has passed since when you were supposed to go fix the toilets. Like, did your family assume you were dead and have a funeral and the whole thing? Is this like the snap? You know? And then at the very end, she's with the family again. And she looks outside and sees the TARDIS and goes inside, and the doctor is like, why don't you come away with me? Because her book is all about how she wants to travel and do all of these things. And she hasn't, and he wants to know why. And she's like, well, these people need me right now. And he says that he admires that she doesn't run out on the people who need her, and he wishes he were more like that. But then is like, how about you just come with me, and since it's a time machine, you can both run away and be here for people. And I was like, no, she can't, though. That's like part of the problem with being your companion.
Yeah,
which we
that
know
didn't
very
work out
well.
so well for Amy and Rory.
Yeah, like the whole thing with them was realizing that they had to choose between having a regular life and being your companion. So why are you constantly telling people this when that's just demonstrably untrue? Also, when she comes into the TARDIS, he's sitting on the steps inside, I think reading the book, the journal of hers.
Well, it's not a journal. It's like 100 places or 1,001 places to go or something. But is he reading that book?
Yeah, he's got it in his hand. I think that's the book. I don't understand why he has this. Like, that feels really rude. He's telling her, you didn't answer my question. And then says, you don't seem like a nanny. So, like, when he says this, he turns the page, and I couldn't tell if it's, like, just some old book that he just happens to be reading while he's waiting for her, or if it's supposed to be that book. I can't
Is
quite
it blue?
See it. No.
Because the book that had the leaf in it...
It's brown.
Is blue.
It is?
It has a blue cover.
Okay, then that's not the book. Okay, good. Because I was just like, man, did he just take that shit from her room and hang out and read it and not put it back or anything? What the fuck?
He's nosy, but he's not that nosy.
Okay. All right, so false alarm. So yeah, he asks her to come with him, and she literally laughs at him and asks if this works. Do you just show up and ask people to come with you? Is this a thing? And I love when he says this to her, he gives her this look like he's just really thinking he sold it. But she is not taking that shit seriously at all. Do you just crook your finger and people jump in your snog box and fly away? And she says, I'll be the judge of that. Because he says it's not a snog box. I'll be the judge of that. Ask me again tomorrow. And he says, why? And she says, because tomorrow I might say yes. And I really like this idea that she's going to stay in place and he's going to go around and then come back. I don't know if this will be an ongoing thing, but I'd kind of like it if the doctor had a companion who didn't go anywhere. I feel like that would be really funny. She's his companion for Adventures on Earth.
Okay.
She's his local companion. You know? He might have a separate international companion. But Yeah, I don't know. I just like that. It's I don't feel like that's the direction that it's actually going to go, but at the moment, I think that's kind of funny. She asks, sometime after 7 okay with you? And he says, it's a time machine. Anytime's okay. In this real sulky voice, and it is very funny. And he says, in your book, there was a leaf. Why? And she says, that wasn't a leaf. That was page 1. And then leaves, and he looks very puzzled. And I don't know if that's supposed to be, I was turning over a new leaf. That was the first leaf of the book. The leaves are pages. Are we supposed to know what she meant by that?
I don't know. I don't think we're supposed to know yet.
Okay. Good. And that's the end of the episode. So, there it is.
I have a couple little trivias. Trivias?
Okay, go ahead.
This isn't the first time that the Doctor has encountered an alien whose plan was to upload humans to a popular technology. Previously, the 10th Doctor encountered the Wire, who extracted the faces of humans. Both times, the victims were trapped in screens, and the Doctor used a motorbike on both occasions.
I don't remember their faces getting stolen. Where?
Yeah, remember Rose's face got stolen? Everybody was going to be watching the Queen's coronation.
Oh!
On television.
Them through the television screens.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a weird one.
The 10th Doctor also mentioned the Anti-Grav Olympics. That was in Tooth and Claw, the Queen Victoria episode.
Okay.
I don't remember that, but I'll take their word on it.
Same.
The title of this episode is a reference to the phone incorporated into the TARDIS police box disguise and to the St. John ambulance logo on the door of this version of the TARDIS.
Interesting.
It is also a reference to the nursery rhyme Oranges and Lemons. So I looked that nursery rhyme up.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't know that one.
I didn't know it. So it's, as most nursery rhymes tend to be, pretty fucking weird.
Yeah.
Oranges and lemons, say the bells of St. Clement's. You owe me 5 farthings, say the bells of St. Martin's. When will you pay me, say the bells at Old Bailey. When I grow rich, say the bells at Shoreditch. When will that be, say the bells of Stepney. I do not know, says the bells left at Bow. Here comes a candle to light you to bed, and here comes a chopper to chop off your head. Chip chop, the last man is dead.
Wow.
There's more.
Okay.
Gay go up and gay go down to ring the bells of London town. Bullseyes and targets, say the bells of St. Margaret's. Brickbats and tiles, say the bells of St. Giles. Halfpence and farthings, say the bells of St. Martin's. Then we got the oranges and lemons. Pancakes and fritters, say the bells of St. Peter's. 2 sticks and an apple, say the bells at Whitechapel. Pokers and tongs, say the bells of St. John's. Kettles and pans, say the bells at St. Anne's. Old Father Baldpate, say the slow bells at Aldgate. Maids in white aprons, say the bells of St. Catherine's. You owe me 10 shillings, say the bells of St. Helen's. When will you pay me, say the bells at Old Bailey. When I grow rich, say the bells at Shoreditch. When will that be, say the bells of Stepney. I'm sure I don't know, say the bells at say the great bell at Bow.
This is so long.
It is. This is the last line. Here comes the candle to light you to bed, and here comes a chopper to chop off your head. The song is used in a children's singing game with the same name, in which the players file in pairs through an arch made by 2 of the players, made by having the players face each other and raise their arms over their head. The challenge comes during the final lines. Here comes the candle to light you to bed. Here comes a chopper to chop off your head. On the last word, the children forming the arch drop their arms to catch the pair of children currently passing through, who are then out and must form another arch next to the existing one. And then it goes on and on.
Okay. So that's what
fucking weird.
The title of this one, and is this
I think
coming
the title
up again?
literally,
or did it come up before? I guess
I don't think so. I think the title literally refers to the phone ringing and the St. John's ambulance logo on front of the TARDIS, which sometimes it has and sometimes it doesn't, depending on the variety of, or the version of the TARDIS at the time.
Okay.
So the St. John's ambulance, I think, was on the TARDIS in old Doctor Who quite a bit and hasn't really been as noticeable or there at all in the more recent versions until now. But he changed the TARDIS again.
What changed about it?
Well, the inside's completely different.
Is it? I'm looking at the... Okay, so there was one thing that I did feel like looked very different was there's no like sort of platform that you run up to. Like the actual engine seems to be at the same level as the rest of the... Like when you walk in.
With Amy and Rory, there was this whole sort of honeycombing look all on the walls. It was very golden.
Right. It's very green now.
Yeah.
Green and blue.
And now above the center console, there's these like 3 rings.
With the symbols.
With the symbols.
Okay, that's new. Okay.
Yeah. So he has changed the interior of the TARDIS. We've seen him do this before, but it was after the TARDIS crashed at the beginning of season 5, and he had to rebuild it. Kind of. He had to revamp it.
Okay.
Because, why did the TARDIS, whatever the 10th Doctor, because the 10th Doctor regenerated inside the TARDIS and it caused a lot of damage. So he had to let it, like, rebuild itself. And so it looked different, and we don't know why he changed the interior, but it might be a reflection of he's all heartbroken because he lost Amy and Rory.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But it is different inside. And the little phone is really never seen.
I guess that's true. Huh. I didn't think about that.
And he says that's not supposed to be working. Because
right.
I guess in real police boxes, the phone was there kind of as a decoy. So that it looked like a phone box too.
Oh.
Or that you would, maybe in real police boxes, the phone was directly to the police.
That's what I kind of had assumed, that it was like you pick up and the police are there, just like boom.
Yeah.
Okay.
But on the TARDIS, that phone doesn't work. And I think we've seen him, like, go to that phone once before. It might have been in the Dr. Dance's episode, the one preceding it. Mm-hmm. I think maybe the phone rang in that episode. But that's the only other time we've seen that phone working.
Okay. Huh. Okay.
And Clara does say, when he asks, like, how did you get this number? She says, the woman in the shop gave it to me. And he says, what woman? And she's like, I don't know, the woman in the shop.
I feel like that has to be River, right?
That's my assumption. Like, who else would have his number? Like, who else would know? No, you probably need to get a hold of him someday.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder, I meant to bring that up, was how she got the number in the first place, and I totally forgot about that aspect of it. But yeah, I'm very curious about that. I'm looking forward to figuring out who that was. Because I feel like whomever it was has to be linked to whatever's happening to her somehow. Like, the fact that she's out here leading multiple lives.
Right.
You know, whatever that's going on.
Yeah. We do have 2 reviews.
Hey! New reviews! What's going on?
So the first one we got was a few days ago. A good podcast, question mark. I don't know what to title this review. 5 stars by Adia Liana from the U.S.
Cool.
I've never written an iTunes review before, but they keep asking for reviews on the show, and I can't afford Patreon, so I want to help somehow.
Hey, thanks.
So, yeah, y'all should listen to this podcast. I'm many, many episodes behind, like a year. But so far, it's fun, and I love when other people talk about my favorite show, even if they're a bit harder on it than I might like sometimes. I guess being 14 when I first watched it, I missed some stuff. Sometimes I'm not a fan of the tangents because they talk about things I've literally never heard of, but usually even those are fun and interesting, where on another show they'd probably annoy me. So that's pretty cool. Thank you. Sorry about all the tangents on this one.
Oh, this one's a bad
not
one.
Sorry.
Sorry, PMS brain. I'll warn you guys next time this is happening again.
The second review is convinced me to download iTunes to review. 5 stars by Ben S995 from the U.S. As an Android user, I've never reviewed podcasts since I don't use iTunes. This is the show that actually got me to download it just to leave a podcast review. I started listening a few months back as I started a rewatch. It's honestly one of the best TV show recap podcasts. I'm always interested in how Natasha will react to certain episodes. Both hosts are entertaining to listen to. I can't wait to hear their thoughts on the more recent episodes. Great podcast from my favorite show.
Yay! Thank you so much, guys.
Thank
I really
you.
appreciate that. And in that vein of appreciation, do you know what I didn't do for 4 months almost? Say hi to new patrons. I don't know what happened. I fell out of the habit, and I'm just gonna try and Whoopi Goldberg it up right now. So, hello.
What does that mean?
Back in the habit.
Oh, okay.
Renee John, Dave G, Eleanor Gilchrist, Matthew Belen, Dave Hahn, Jonas Suchi, Sarah Decker, Tom, Ryan Powers, Malika Chakravarti, Monica Hargris, Donald Adia, Hard-Boiled Greg, Sam, Sidnim R, Ryan Birchfield, James H. Winston, Desiree Desiree
Bua!
Joshua Simpson, Sadie Sida Carrillo, Leah Frankel, Lindsay Mears, Aidan Slade, Carly Morals, Jacqueline Hamlin, Kira McGinnis, DeFrieden, Lissy, Kayla McCarthy, Met Nordkill, Nina, Crystal Nielsen, Katie Niekamp, Amanda Cincio, Jillian McIsaac, Barbie Paget, Sal D'Souza, Emaine Keary, Ben Steele, Sawyer Norquist, Nicole Birmingham, Mona Arneberg, Emma Fingler, Mickey, Aaliyah, Sam Howell, Colin Kingston, Evening Lion, and Amanda Heiser all became patrons over the past 4 months.
That's a lot.
Thank you guys very much. I'm sorry that I didn't read your names sooner. I don't really know what happened. I can't make an excuse because I have nothing to base the excuse on because I don't have one. I just stopped doing it. I don't know why. And I really do appreciate all of you. And I think that probably what happened was I started the Mighty Network right around this time and began to pour all of my energy about patrons into getting that up and running in a way that was actually there was some heavy participation. But that is no excuse. It isn't so.
Didn't Patreon also change how you can pull the new patrons?
Yes, and that's part of why I'm doing it now is because they appear to have changed some things back. I think they got a bunch of feedback. Because also, I think I mentioned before on another show that I do the postcards based on their list every month, and somehow they had people listed multiple times. So I made doubles of about 22 postcards without realizing it until the end when I started to notice, wait, I saw this name just now. And I went through them and did a double check, and there was at least, and then even though I took those out, somebody else still got 2. I think 2 people got 2 postcards this month because I didn't catch theirs. So yeah, they've been very frustrating, and I think that they're finally beginning to hear us because some other people are making a stink about the changes as well. So it seems like it's going to be easier to say hi to y'all from now on than it's been, which is very good because I like doing that. But it was just such a headache to separate people out and not make it so that I was just repeating names or it was people who had just changed their pledge or whatever. But yeah, reminder that if you would like to become a patron, it's patreon.com/unspoiled. We just finished the last chapters of the first book of Mistborn. We're going to do the whole series, but we took a break because Midnight Sun came out, and Miles and I covered the Twilight books for those who are interested. If you're $5 and up, you get access to those episodes. And the Midnight Sun is the Twilight book from Edward's perspective. It's almost twice as long. It's ridiculous how much longer it is. And we are going to take 6 weeks and really like tear through it, because there's no need for us to take it as slowly as we did with the others. And that is what we are covering right now, pretty much until like Christmas break. And then around that time, around Christmas or maybe a little after, we are going to be starting on the rest of the Mistborn books. So,
how many Mistborn books are there?
I think 6, 7?
Wow.
Somewhere in there. I don't remember. But yeah, so, you know, it didn't take long to cover Mistborn itself. That one, it's like probably like 8 episodes, I think, maybe a little more. I don't know how it compares in length to the others, but you know, all I do is long giant projects, so who knows. But yeah, I've been really having fun, and Miles and we just have a good dynamic. He's a real success story in some ways. Those of you who have listened to older episodes of Miles, you know what I'm talking about. He's also just a happier person. He's married and has a child, and the child's throwing tantrums, which he apparently is very happy about. And also, reminder, I am doing Song of Ice and Fire with Rashawn again. And we just... The episode Petire.
Petire is how he says it?
That's how he says it. Petire.
Oh, God.
The episode that will be out by the time this episode of Doctor Who is up will be covering the Sansa chapter. The first one of the book, in which shit goes down, which leads to...
I skipped it on my reread.
It's really painful to reread.
Yeah.
And we're trying to have a serious conversation about it. And there was something going on with Rashawn, which you all will hear on the episode, which made it difficult. And we eventually just had to call it a day and say we would come back and finish recording on Saturday. So Rashawn and I have not finished recording that episode. I can't wait for you guys to hear what was happening, because it's beyond belief. And I laughed so hard at one point, and it's like, it's on recording. It wasn't part of the episode, but it was during the intro. And I'm going to put it at the end after like the end music. Guys, I couldn't breathe. I was laughing so hard. So if you want to hear somebody suffering and then someone laughing uproariously at their suffering, please listen to that episode. I know that it's about a heavy chapter, but I promise it is not a heavy episode so far. All right. Is there anything else you want to say before we wrap?
I just want to plug our Vampire Diaries podcast. Chris and I do it. It's Undeclared Vampire Diaries in the Unspoiled Network. We are on season 4. If you want to talk about a long project, there are 8 seasons of the show, all of them with at least 20 episodes.
I would remind Jamie that she is currently covering Doctor Who.
Yeah.
With me.
That's true. Also, a lot of seasons, not 20 to 23 episodes a season, though.
I think it's still, like, it's got to be longer, right? It's got to be more episodes, like, in total.
I'll do the math and get back to you.
I put $150 on this bet.
Okay.
That's my...
challenge accepted.
But I didn't shake your hand. Don't hold me to that.
So, yeah, we used to do 2 episodes at a time, but it became really difficult for us to manage time-wise for both of us because we're both pretty busy with work. So now we do 1 at a time, and we're having a lot of fun with it. So give it a listen if you're interested in revisiting the Vampire Diaries or checking it out for the first time. It's actually a really fun show. It's a pretty, I don't know, I find a lot of comfort in rewatching it. It's just a fun show, so give it a listen.
Yeah, guys, do it. Go listen. And leave them a review on iTunes, too.
Yes, we love those. Krista gets very, very happy.
Yeah, I should really go through and just, like, review all of the shows on the network. I don't know why I've never done that. It would be a smart thing to do, but I never did. I think that I'm worried that I'll get caught. And people will be like, that's Natasha's username. That's just her. I'm not listening to her. Anyway.
I've had other co-hosts leave us reviews.
I know, but I think it's because I'm like the one who owns the network that I'm just like, is that shady? Is that
You're not on those shows.
Well, I was going to leave reviews on all of them. And just like...
well, that's different.
It's Doctor Who. I'd never watched the show before, but Jamie and Natasha really made me want to watch. It's the darndest thing. I've picked it up. I never thought this would happen to me.
Just have it done from Owen's account.
That is what I should do. If you guys see something suspiciously positive, and it's from anything that says yellow or wheat ninja or slowly but surly, that is him. All right, guys. We will see you next week with a new episode. Until then, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye.